And hi everybody, welcome to Fresh Outlook, the show where we're talking about what you're talking about. I'm your host, Taryn Brill, but just call me TWB. Well, as 2012 winds down, today's show will be dedicated to the year in review. We'll begin by discussing hot topic number one, politics. What else, right? We'll recap the presidential race, its aftermath, and we'll also look ahead at Obama's second term. From there, we'll delve into the economy. We're closer and closer to going over that proverbial fiscal cliff. So as the clock ticks down, is there a new deal in the works? Then we'll discuss the future of U.S. industry, from Hostess to Walmart to small businesses. From there, we'll get into the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy and some other natural disasters that hit us pretty hard in 2012. And finally, we'll wrap up this show, and I suppose this year's worth of Fresh Outlook, with some final thoughts on the Newtown massacre and some messages of hope and change. But before we get the conversation started, as always, let's meet our all-star panel. Great to see all of you once again. A week flies by, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Let's start with WJ.
I'm W.J. O'Reilly. I'm headmaster of the Hanal School, and I'm a partner with Harvard University in the Center for Public Interest Careers.
Welcome, WJ.
Thank you.
JBP. Did I get there? Yes, it only took 11 shows. James.
I'm James Peterson, Director of Africana Studies at Lehigh University and a contributor to thegrio.com.
Welcome. Terrific to have you as always. And my female cohort, Francesca.
That's right. Francesca Maxime. I'm a news anchor here at Every TV and also the author of Read a Diverse Memoir.
Okay, welcome to my favorite trio of all time. And as we look back at 2012, there's one topic that dominated the headlines, of course, the presidential election. Many thought this was to be a very close race between Obama and Romney, but in the end, it just wasn't. Take a look.
I'm Mitt Romney. I believe in America, and I'm running for president of the United States.
Barack Obama will be a one-term president.
Oh, I love y'all. I love y'all.
I'm so in love.
That's why I'm running for a second term as President of the United States.
I accept your nomination for President of the United States.
I gotta give one of them to see.
We took a concerted effort to go out and find women who had backgrounds that could be qualified to become members of our cabinet. I went to a number of women's groups and said, can you help us find folks? And they brought us whole binders full of women.
His supporters and his campaign also deserve congratulations.
We are greater than the sum of our individual ambitions, and we remain more than a collection of red states and blue states. We are and forever will be the United States of America.
Ah, nice retrospective there. You look at Michelle Bachmann, like, wow, it's been a while since we saw her.
Right.
Is it awful, panel, that what I get from that piece is binders full of women? That's what stays with me. But
it's not awful. I mean, that was a
Yeah.
signal moment in the campaign. I mean, I think that there were so many instances where the Romney campaign showed where the Republican Party was in terms of its relationship to the American populace and progress, and binders full of women is one of those retrograde sort of concepts that got tagged as being indicative of the ways in which Republicans are moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Then again, if you actually believe one of Romney's kids, Romney was never committed to running in the first place.
I was going to mention
I
that
simply
later.
got on board because no.
on that?
I do
That
actually.
a hateful thing for him.
Yeah,
to do
basically,
to
if you didn't
Father
hear
Adam.
about it,
Why would he say it if it weren't so?
Tag, his son, came out saying, "Oh, by the way, P.S. You know, my dad never really wanted to be president."
Terrible for
I
him.
heard
Just
that. Why would he make that up? I mean, what is?
Maybe he didn't make
What
it up
about-
as
what
a
is the
son.
benefit?
It's one one of those
the
cheap.
benefit of
It's one of
saying
those
that?
cheap things you say after you end up face down in the dirt. Like, well, I meant to do that.
That's
You know, it's one of those.
ridiculous. Like a Monday
but on
morning
the other hand, I don't think he really was in it. I thought he was kind of the default candidate, given
Well,
the
he
other
was. I mean,
cast
we
of
had Rick
characters.
Santorum, we had Newt Gingrich. We started with those people. We didn't really start with Romney. It was sort of like ho-hum. The Republican Party all sort of agreed to Romney in the end because they realized they didn't have anybody else after
But for
Herman
his
Cain.
son, and his son is
no,
an insider,
I'm
for his
not-
son to say that means in some ways that he's calling his father a liar.
Right. Oh no, I think it's incredibly damaging to the whole process and to all the people that, you know, supported Romney. It's just a big insult, frankly, to just say, you know what, well, he didn't really want to do it. And I'm not sure to whom he let it slip and how exactly that came out or whether or not it was an interview, although I've read that it's been quoted to tag his son many, many times. But having met those kids personally, having actually seen them, that clan up close and personal, because that is what it is, they are a clan and they are a tribe of Romneys and they will stick together. So for whatever reason that he felt as though he could say that, I think it might have just been that, again, sort of like that comment about the binders or the 47%, the truth comes out when they least expect it.
Yeah, but not to take anything away from President Obama, I saw this campaign as a defense of a heavyweight title, a title fight heavyweight belt. And he defended his title. And he showed himself to be an outstanding politician, and he deserves every bit of the credit for that victory.
He is in the lightweight category, though. He's a very thin man. I do want to talk. Thank you for laughing at my jokes. I do want to talk about the money spent on this election, just to give you the numbers. Yes, I heard gulps.
Your favorite topic, right, James?
Yeah.
$6 billion.
Obama and the Democratic Party spent about $986 million. Romney and the GOP $992 million.
$2 billion.
I
Well,
mean,
$2 billion. Yeah, $1 billion each, right?
Yeah.
Then they spent the super PACs with the $6 billion. That's what I'm saying. $6 billion. I'm saying that much money went into this 2012 election cycle. To think that there's so many special interests that are really the ones that are, you know, promoting people and sort of trying to buy this election. Now, Obama did an amazing job in grassroots campaign, as he did in 2008 with the youth vote and getting younger people out, and with the internet and using all of that to really get this campaign kicked into high gear. He used the grassroots campaign, and people did come out. The majority, the 47% or whatever of people came out in droves. Women, minorities. It's an unprecedented number for
White
this
middle
election.
class males.
But we saw Adelson, we saw you know, Gingrich, we saw these other people really trying to buy their way in, thanks to the Supreme Court vote of corporations and people. And at the end of the day, I think they kind of have egg on their face, and they're reevaluating their whole strategy.
So do we need just campaign finance reform? How about the people who say, you know what, each candidate should have a set amount of money, equal time, equal pay in terms of what, and we should go from there. I mean, do we think that?
That's what James, that's what you
that'd
say
be
pretty
great.
much.
Yeah, each one gets
And in the best of all possible worlds, that would happen, but it's not going to happen.
Why not?
And you know what? $2 billion, $6 billion doesn't sound like that much to me. There's going to be more spent in the future.
It is a lot of money spent, and when you compare it to elections previous, it's a tremendous amount. I agree with Francesca as well that what's the impact of it? Does it just make us all sick of ads, or does it, you know, what does it really do?
Did it change anyone's mind?
I'm not sure if it changed anyone's
mind.
We need real, robust campaign finance reform, and interestingly enough, now is the time to do it when we're not in the immediate run-up to an election. Silence on campaign finance reform right now. Absolute silence.
Right. Well, and speaking of reform, I'm just curious about, where does the GOP go from here? I mean, who are they looking to? Marco Rubio? I mean, they're obviously trying to change the demographics of the party and who they reach. I mean, can they dig themselves out of the hole? I mean, especially when their candidates don't even want to be there, according to their sons.
So we're here in New Jersey. So Chris Christie and his bromance with, you know, President Obama over Sandy, I thought was terrific and authentic from his part, but he's also pretty shrewd. Maybe he really did want to kind of just say, you know what, I'm clearing the path for 2016. I'm not going to be nice to Romney right now more than I have to be, and I'm going to, you know, make sure that I have a clear entree into that door in a couple of years.
Unfortunately, don't you think there's so many dead bodies now in his path for having actually taken on that kind of friendship with Obama? I think he actually put so many Republicans off. I think it was kind of he gave his own kiss of death.
Christie, but listen, the Republicans need much more cultural competence in their party. They've got to understand culture, engage the culture of America more directly, and represent it more directly. Unfortunately, Romney as a candidate represents their disconnect from mainstream America.
But they've got to do all that authentically. It's got to come from within. You can't just put it on like an act.
I mean, I think we all can agree that GOP is doing a lot of soul searching, correct? Let's see what else they have to say.
They are, or at least
find out.
One hopes.
Let's find out. We're
They
going to
need to be doing
now
it.
on soul searching.
They need to be.
Republicans went into election night expecting a tight race for the White House, but not defeat.
I have just called President Obama to congratulate him on his victory.
GOP leaders are now soul-searching for answers in the aftermath.
A whole group of us, frankly, misunderstood what was happening in the country. We thought at 8% unemployment, or approximately 8%, with gasoline the price it was, etc., that it would be almost impossible for Obama to get reelected.
Romney's loss exposed the growing gulf between the Republican Party and women and minorities.
The sleeping giant is finally awake. As 16% of the population, Hispanic Americans are now the largest and fastest growing minority in the U.S. and a crucial voting bloc in this year's election.
Latinos helped decide this election. They helped win the presidency for Obama. The turnout was higher than ever. It's now 10% of the voting population. It was a 26% increase over just 4 years ago.
It's a political game changer that was a long time coming and that Republicans should have been prepared for.
Yeah, lots of soul searching indeed. Ooh, I just heard a.
Well, clearly they weren't prepared. It's interesting to hear Newt Gingrich and what he's saying there. They thought that the economy would be the way to do it, and it shows the disconnect. It's not that the economy wasn't important; it's that you have to actually speak to the people that you're trying to represent. Now, by the way, the Democrats have work to do on this front as well, in terms of connecting with American folk and representing their progressive constituency as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the Republicans were at a complete disconnect when it came to, you know, really being in touch with what the American people were really about. You can't change something like, for example, and I'm not saying Republicans are this way, but institutional ways of thinking. For example, racism is not changed overnight. It takes a long time to be able to progress through that to a true place of understanding and for a true place of exchanges of ideas and for a true place of being able to serve your community. And I just think that like that, analogous to that, is the way that the Republican Party is going to have to reevaluate their relationship with the American public. They've catered to people that were in the 1% for too long, and then they doubled down with the Tea Party, you know, and that really
they're just so fractured. Everything is just so fractured.
And Mitt Romney, frankly, I think would have done a lot better had he always stayed the moderate, you know, Republican candidate that he might have been. But after the folks like Santorum and Herman Cain and those folks, he kind of had to play both parts and try to be extreme right and then also in the middle, and I think that he was not really to the extreme right, and that's why he was double speaking all the time, and people said that they couldn't believe anything that he did say.
I just don't think he was relatable.
Right? Do you believe his son?
I mean, I also think too, I mean, whether or not, regardless, let's say Romney was more qualified and he should have won in some people's eyes. I think in the economy we're in, the deficit, I mean, all the problems we're undergoing as a country, I think it would not have been in our best interest to have a changing of the guard, regardless of who this other candidate was. Maybe if they were better, you know, let's say it was the most perfect candidate ever. Just
I mean,
that
there's
takes
too much
time.
going on.
Too much going on. There's too much in motion. So just for me, regardless of who that Republican candidate was, I didn't want that person winning because I just thought, you know, we have a momentum going. There's a lot going on to, you know, it takes a year to go through that transition.
Absolutely. Not that I was actually in danger of changing my vote from Obama the second time around, but I think
you did vote for Obama?
Of course I did.
Oh, right.
Who think?
It's just being sarcastic.
Oh, come on. Anyway, well, listen, but that was in the wind. It was in the wind, and let me just,
we were on the right path.
Yes, but I want to say this actually on behalf of the president. The activists that I know are really near and dear to your heart, that he needs, that his actually getting elected the first time was based upon his appealing to them. And the fact is that they were very critical of him through the first term because he wasn't getting to those agendas quickly enough. You know, the whole gays in the military, so forth, tree huggers, you name it. But he did it in the time that was needed to be taken to set these things up to be done, which shows his wisdom. I was impressed.
And hopefully he will do things with immigration reform, and he will do more with the environment, and hopefully he will, you know, but there are certain things that frankly I think are going to get stuck back in the back burner.
But at the end of the day, the demographics have a lot to do with this campaign.
I don't. Immigration he will. He will. I know he'll deal with immigration, but I don't know about some of this other stuff that, you know, we'd like to see him.
And this is what I mean by the Democratic Party speaking to his constituency, because I believe that the constituency of the Democratic Party is more progressive than the party itself is. So things like drone attacks have to go. Addressing climate change has to happen. Proper immigration reform. No grand deal on the fiscal cliff stuff either. It has to be a deal that protects the social safety net, but also raises taxes on wealthier folks. So there's a constituency within the Democratic Party that is more progressive than the party is itself, and they've got to address it.
Well, speaking of all these changes, there's going to be big changes in Obama's cabinet for the second term. A lot of Kerry, perhaps, will be in place. So let's take a look at what's ahead in terms of a second term cabinet for Obama.
Calling him the perfect choice for Secretary of State, President Barack Obama tapped U.S. Senator John Kerry to replace Hillary Clinton on Friday.
I think it's fair to say that few individuals know as many presidents and prime ministers or grasp our foreign policies as firmly as John Kerry, and this makes him a perfect choice to guide American diplomacy in the years ahead.
Obama settled on the Massachusetts senator and 2004 Democratic presidential candidate after the frontrunner, UN Ambassador Susan Rice, took herself out of the running last week. Several Republican lawmakers had said they would block a Rice nomination because of her role in the administration's early explanations about the attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi.
He understands that we have a responsibility to use American power wisely.
On the cusp of his second term, Obama's choice of Kerry marks the first step in overhauling his national security team.
As we turn the page.
But Clinton is just one of several members of the Obama administration who's expected to leave. Obama will also need a new Secretary of the Treasury to replace Timothy Geithner, and keep an eye on Chinese monetary policies.
Changes are coming, that's for sure. Just a quick stat: in the 5 two-term presidencies since World War II, only 1 of 2 cabinet officers have stayed for the entire 8 years. So that's pretty telling. I mean, I look at Kerry replacing Clinton, big shoes to fill. I mean, I think she's done an incredible job. But, you know, she said, I think it was in the Barbara Walters special, she's exhausted. She needs time. And if you're Kerry, whoa, like, what's ahead? 4 years, you'll be falling down from dehydration and get a concussion. And I mean,
hopefully he won't also be dealing with Syria and won't also be dealing with uprisings after a Democratic election.
Hillary has to rest up for 2012.
Yes,
you all know that.
2016. Do we think that's ahead, by the way?
No question about
I do.
Absolutely. Okay. What about? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, John Kerry, having been in Massachusetts and actually having wored for him when I was younger.
No kidding.
You know,
Cool.
Well, my uncle is a Massachusetts state senator for a long time, and
you got to give us your resume. We peel the layers of Francesca every week. Okay.
Hey, you know, the Renaissance woman, right?
Yes,
so to speak. Back to the reality here. John Kerry, great guy, perfect guy for the job. Really, 100%. And honestly, when he was kind of not being considered for a little while, I was like, all right, you know, maybe he's perfect. The reason being, he does, as the president said, have all of this experience. Everybody knows him, respects him, and he is diplomatic.
Yo, WJ is shaking his head.
I got to jump in here on John Kerry. John Kerry is a man who actually came with his Vietnam experience. Actually, in many people's regard, kind of the second coming of JFK. He kind of had that charisma about him. He had a lot of potential, but I feel never really reached his full potential. And in the eyes of my mother, who's a politico in Massachusetts, always considered him to be something of a horse's bleep. Because he never ever reached his full potential. Now, what's working for him right now is the fact that he's got to lay down his legacy. And he's got to dig deep and maybe be a bit of that hard ass from Vietnam.
What would have been reaching his full potential be?
It'll be actually being successful in this role, which I don't think he's suited to do. I don't think
give him a chance.
I would first of all quibble with any idea that he has the potential or the charismatic potential of a JFK. I don't.
No, at that time he did. He had to be there. He did.
Right. But I still, even if we look back at it historically, I would just quibble with that a little bit. But then secondly, I think if you go back and take a look at the sort of voting demographics around that election, you know, you can say that he lost, but there were a lot of irregularities in Ohio and in Florida once again. I mean, there were some serious challenges about that particular election around voter, not just voter fraud, but like the ways in which votes were counted. So, so I don't know if him not reaching his potential is completely up to him. But then at the end of the day, having someone in this position who has the military experience that he has, at a time where we really need to reduce the military impact.
I don't really know how many choices we have.
I think he's much better suited to Secretary of State than President. And I also want to say that it'll be an interesting election to look at to see who replaces his seat, because Governor of Massachusetts Deval Patrick, along with Ben Affleck, but not really, is actually being considered for the job, and then that opens up a whole shift there in terms of it could strengthen actually the Democratic Party in the country.
We shall see. What will strengthen our show is if we go to a commercial break. Bye. Up next on Fresh Outlook, as we continue our look back at 2012, we'll tackle the economy and that abysmal phrase that seems to be everywhere. 2 words: fiscal cliff. Watch out. Stay with us.